take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Welcome to Life in Rabbit.
All right, pleased to be joined today, JUNO Award winner, stand-up comedian, actor on Hulu's Ramy, Mr. David Merheje. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, bro.
So, first and foremost, Kanye for president, yay or nay?
Yay or nay, I guess. I don't know. I don't know, man. The person they have now, who knows, man. I don't know if it'll be worse or better. I don't know.
I want to start off a little bit with your journey and stand up and getting into stand up. Did you always want to be a stand up comedian originally, or is that something you more fell into?
No, I've always wanted to be like a comedian, and then like into acting as well, like an entertainer, basically. I just always wanted to entertain.
Cool.
From what I can remember.
When did you start? When did it first start for you? Was it like a high school talent show? Were you booking gigs, open mic nights?
No, it was more or less like, I don't know. I remember making my mom laugh by making fun of my aunt. I was like pretty young, and I thought that was like super dope how she was laughing, my mom. But I think after that, it was more. I didn't do like school plays or anything like in school or even in high school. I just kind of had this idea that I figured you needed to be like 19 to do comedy. Like, so, I didn't know you could bring up, your parent could bring you. Mm-hmm. So I just waited till I was like 19 to do comedy at a comedy club. So that was like my first, like that was the thought process.
Right. And, doing a little bit of background and you're from Windsor. What was the comedy scene like there? Or was it more Detroit? Because I went to Windsor quite recently and man, there was nothing there.
Oh, like comedy wise? Yeah, I think comedy kind of like, they had a comedy club like last summer. But I remember, they had a Yuck Yucks there for the longest time. So I would go, it was like from Thursday to Saturday, I believe. And then they started like a battle of the bands on a Sunday, and they had like comedians go up before, like local, and then they would have sometimes the headliner from the weekend stay and do a set. So I remember that's how we really got into it there. For me personally, how I got into it. And then we started kind of like rooms around the city, but I would say like I would go over to Michigan, but like, not get paid. It was more of open mics.
Right. I'm curious, when along this journey, so you're starting, and like you said, going over to Michigan and getting your name out. When did it start to really become kind of a realization that this could be maybe a career for you, that you could, have a sustainable living?
I always wanted to make it a career, so I didn't even know anything about sustainable living. Right. Like, that wasn't it was just like, I want to be an entertainer. That's all I want to do. So I was like, whatever happens, I guess it's got to happen. Like, it wasn't like a thing where I was like, I liked something else. And I was like, oh, I got a gig that paid. I was like, this could work. It was like I was set on that goal. Like from when I was like 14, I was like, I want to do entertainment. So, if I can make money off of it, that would be great. But I was like, I wanted to do stand-up. I just wanted to entertain. So I didn't really, it set in. I was like, it'll set in when it sets in.
Cool. So comedy is one of the most interesting things to me because it sits on this kind of balance point where, you have a lot of people who tend to believe that you can kind of say anything with comedy to a certain extent, based on it's because it's jokes. I'm curious, someone like you, where do you fall on that kind of debate? Because I think it's just a really interesting topic that, it is comedy like the last kind of safeguard, quote unquote, for free speech, I guess you could say.
Like, is it like, what do you mean by that? Like, you could say, I don't, my material, me personally, I don't think I say anything that, where someone's going to be like, you cross the line. It's like a
Yeah.
lot of it is like based on my family. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really run in personally myself with a lot of like my material isn't edgy. If I'm going to be honest, like where people are like protesting, you know what I mean? Or like
Mm.
commenting on like, you offended me kind of thing. Like, and I personally wouldn't stop any, like, if you're gonna do a joke that you feel it's real to you and it's funny and you're gonna attempt to do it, then yeah. If the joke isn't funny and it's just malice and it's ignorant and racist or just then it's like, what are you doing? That's where I would be like, in my head, I'd be like, yo, what was the point of that?
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm curious. So you said your style is more based on, your family and growing up. I was just watching a bit of part of your special on the comedians of the world.
In the world, yeah.
Yeah. You, what's your writing process? How do you come up with material and come up with good jokes? How do you work it?
Usually it's like something, if I have full knowledge in it, like if I can talk from a personal point of view, that I like doing it that way because like, it's coming from me and it's like something very personal to me in a sense that, so like if there's stories about my family, like whether I'm chatting with my brother or sister or my dad or mom or whoever, and a funny idea comes from that or a story comes from that, I'll turn that into a joke. So I like to run it on stage, obviously. So I'll get up as much as I can and start off with an idea, and then it eventually get it to where it's proper for this to be into the set is how
Right.
I go. I'll jot ideas down and notes and in the phone on your note section.
Yeah. Well then, so you can't coming up as a comedian. When did I know you said you always wanted to be an entertainer? When did that transition to acting really start? Did you kind of just like see a role and get like just pick it out and go for it, or?
No, it was more, I was doing stand up and I was like, let me just try to find my voice up there. And then I was like, from that I can parlay it into getting into acting, but I would take classes, when I could. And then, yeah, I would audition. I got an agent in Toronto and I would be sent out for auditions and I was trying to get in that way. And I think the first sitcom I ever did was Mr. D, Jerry D. He'd seen me at Just for Laughs. We'd worked together, and I
Mm.
opened for him in Windsor, and then that's how that relationship started. So, it was really, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been able to. I wouldn't have done a sitcom in Canada, and especially one that's like was super successful, is super successful, and so funny, and it was such a great thing to be a part of.
Yeah. It's funny that like no matter kind of what your background is, whether it's acting or comedy or just a regular job, sometimes you just need that person to take a chance on you and you know put you in that spot where like you can do it. You just need someone to believe in you a
Uh,
little bit.
well, Jerry helps out a lot of comedians, in Canada specifically. So, he gave a lot of comedians chances on his show. So,
Right.
he obviously didn't have to do that, but he did. So it's great.
Are you currently in Canada right now, or did you have to
No.
go ahead?
Oh no, sorry. I cut you off there. I'm in Los Angeles
Oh, really?
right now. That's why,
Did
yeah, I
you?
moved.
Yeah. So what's the comedy scene in Canada versus kind of like the States?
You know, I just think it's bigger. Obviously, it's just more people, bigger scene, more clubs. More comedians attempting to do it. More, so you have that. It's just as it's just a bigger population.
Hmm. Do you find like I don't know with the more people and more competition, more people trying to make it, especially in LA, like do you find that like kind of maybe raises your game a little bit, or does it make you work harder? Does it change your mindset at all being there, just knowing that a lot of people are trying to go
Yeah,
after?
I've been in America. I've been in America for like since 2015. But like, yeah,
Right.
it
Okay.
would naturally, naturally it brings the competition out of you, I feel, because you're like, you see all these people, and you're in LA or New York, and you want to show out and you want to prove yourself. So yeah, it drives you. I think it also does in Canada as well. If it's not really on the person, if you want to be the best, and you want to take it to another level, I think you'll strive and push yourself wherever you're at.
Mm. Yeah, no, it's true. Well, then I'm curious about Ramy, because that show has got a ton of great reviews. It's
Yeah.
above an 8 on IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes has a great rating. It's won awards. What is that show all about?
Um, it's the first season. It was like him trying to find himself, and like in a day. I don't want to say like in like modern time and dealing with faith. Like he's trying to find a balance. You know what I mean? Like and I think that was that first season was like a lot of that journey was that, and then adding in like his relationship with his friends and his family and his relationships with women and stuff, navigating.
Right. On TV, especially with Hollywood, you don't see a lot of, I guess, positive depictions of the Muslim faith and Islam and anything other than really like a typical white family. I know more black sitcoms and shows are getting more into the mix. Do you think this show is kind of like breaking barriers in that sense and really starting to shine a light on just a different, I don't want to say way of living, but just non-traditional TV,
Uh,
families, people.
of course, man. Because like before that, like most of the time, you're getting as a Middle Eastern person, you're getting depicted as like either a terrorist or just like it's like not good vibes. It was just like nothing to inspire to, I think, or to be like to look up to. So this comes along, and you have characters that you have a show that you can like inspire and be like, they can inspire people to create their own version or their own idea or their own personal experience. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's beautiful. Like typically you'll see like a white family and all the like multiple shows like that. This is something very, very unique, and it's special. It's showing faith, like in a positive manner. I think like I've heard, this is not from me, but I've heard this is from someone else saying it.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard Ramy say it. Actually, it's like usually religion is a punchline kind of thing. So, and also I learned a lot. I'm a Christian Arab, so I was learning stuff too from filming and watching. So you get to learn, and you get to understand, and you may have some like, whether it's like racist or some judgment about the culture or about the religion, and this is showing you, and it's done so well from the writing, from the acting, and it's I think it's just, there's nothing really out there like it.
Right. When when you're going to auditions and you're trying out for different thing like career activities, I guess you could say, for in a very stern way. But do you find like as a person with like Middle Eastern descent, like that you get typecasted in ways like they don't necessarily want to like put you as like the hot main character or heartthrob or like the romantic interest or anything, like they kind of like narrow your way into a box in a way.
Yeah, you'll get breakdowns where it's like, like I said, terrorist, or it's yeah. I've starting, especially in Canada too. Like I would get these roles where part of me was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to have an accent. And I'm not knocking anyone that wants to do that. It's just me personally. I was like, those those type of roles never, they didn't interest me. I didn't want to do them.
Right. um Tell me about your character. Like, what do you kind of get into? Like, do you have like a process to try to get into him? What is the character all about on the show for those who don't know?
Oh, he's very close to his faith. He's Ramy's like one of Ramy's friends, and he's always trying to look out for him. Trying to help him, I guess, do the right thing. He's married, and he's a doctor. So I think it's that it's about the friendship. But so it's like I don't I'm not as close to Christianity as that character is to Islam. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I pray. I don't go to church as much as I should. So I was even in that character. Sometimes I'd be like, oh man, I don't live like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I don't have sometimes that stability there that this character has. So it was just interesting to play something like that.
Do you find yourself? Is there a lot of like parallels between yourself and the character?
Well, some of my anxieties are there. Like the character has like certain, like how he clean. Like I think there was one scene where he was like in a strip joint and he put hand sanitizer on. Like I could see myself doing that. Especially now, obviously with COVID. But I mean,
Yeah,
like in general, some of the anxieties I could relate to, or me. Like I added them in there.
right, right. That how have you been? With sets shut down, comedy clubs closed. I know even in LA that they were trying to reopen, but just had to like close back down again. How have you been? Like, how have you been keeping? What have you been trying to get up to and do for work?
Just like I have a podcast. I'm doing a podcast with a couple co-hosts, like an actual therapist and my
Oh
co-host
shit!
Fivos, and we've been working on that for a while. We had recorded a bunch before the lockdown and before the pandemic, so we're finally gonna get that out there. So we've been working on that. It deals with mental health, so we have someone on there professionally to speak on it, and then a comedy album that me and another very funny comedian Ali Hassan we're putting out on Friday, on July 10th. That we collaborated together. It'll be on all streaming platforms.
Are you able to talk? I know the podcast isn't out yet, but are you able to talk about it? I find it
Yeah, for sure. It's called The Beautifully Anxious.
that's really interesting. So I myself, I'm a big mental health advocate. I do
Yeah.
speaking and everything like that. So I'm curious, what kind of things are you trying to tackle? Like personal
Uh,
stories?
yeah. I'm sweating a lot now. It's funny because I keep grabbing my towel. So it's like this guy. Imagine they're like, oh, he's like full of anxiety. But no, a lot of some of it, I don't want to say a lot of it is for our personal stories as well. And we have like having the therapist on there, we're learning a lot about therapy. Like whether there's a lot of, I feel there's stereotypes about therapy. I had them. I was like, yeah, what is it going to really do? Or, you see stuff on TV and you're like, that's how they are, So having a therapist on the podcast, we get to learn a lot and
Mm.
there's so much vast majority of things I didn't know that I learned through the therapist on there. And and because it's different from having me and my co-host on there just talking. You know what I mean? We're not actual therapists, obviously. So it's having the therapist on there. It's like you'll get a lot more informative things that we can't provide you, obviously, but we can also give our personal experience. And I learned a lot even recording. Like I got a therapist halfway through recording the episodes. Like I wasn't seeing one, and then I was like, oh, this can do wonders, and it does. So and like a lot of I think once you start sharing your experience about depression and anxiety, I know for me it helps. Like when your friends talk about it, or even strangers, you don't feel alone as much. You're like, oh, you go through that too, and I think it helps so much. I think if there's a constant uh, dialogue about it and discussion, not just one day, how Bell does
Yeah.
the talks, the thing. I think it should be more than one day. I just in general, I think we should speak on it a lot more. And yeah, I found it to be very helpful. So when I was discussing I was trying to figure out, I was like, maybe I should do a podcast. And, that idea came, me and Fivos, who were discussing it. And we're like, yeah, we both, have anxiety and depression. And we were just chatting about it. And we thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, it's and that freeing feeling, like I always equated to that once I share it and it's kind of out there with someone in the world, that like it's like a weight. The weight kind of
Yeah,
feels like it's off of me.
for sure,
Um,
man. That's like, yeah.
I'm curious because I think it's really important. You know, someone with your successes for somebody who is experiencing anxiety and depression, and you know, feeling that, you know, that worthless feeling, that failure feeling, that lonely feeling. You know, looking up to someone like you who's speaking about it openly. You know, and you know, I mentioned off the top, like award-winning stand-up comedian, like an actor. You know, I think it's a big deal that you're speaking out about it. What are some of the things you do to? I know you said therapy in this podcast, but what are some of the things you do to try to tackle your anxiety and depression and still be able to achieve what you're trying to achieve in your career?
You know, like, yeah, therapy is, for me, therapy was great because, you know, you get homework for, you know what I mean? In a sense that, you know, you're taught these tools that, you know, you can apply every day. And that's helped me a lot. Like, I'll take things that the therapist says and I'll apply them, and I'll start, well, you know, you have to really put in the work too. Like, it's just like, you know, your therapist can talk to you and tell you things, but if you're not taking what they're saying and adapting it to your everyday life or putting it in there, then I don't think you're going to get better. You know, me personally, I've gotten better on certain things that I was trying to fix through the homework and working on it every day. I think that for, you know, speaking with my family and friends, having discussions, not being afraid to speak about it helps. Do you know what I mean? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, not keeping it inside and away from the people I love, you know, which I found in the past I would do, and it wasn't the best. It was detrimental. So I feel being more open with the circle you keep, it helps a lot too. It helps calm it. It helps make it better.
Yeah. Do you practice like any like mindfulness techniques, whether that's, you know, yoga, meditation, breathing exercises, anything like that?
No, I should, to be honest. Like, I was working out. I still work out. Like, you know what I mean? You know, it'll go from periods of like sometimes not like 3, 4 months I don't work out. But I found working out, man, when I was doing it on a consistent basis, it helped relieve anxiety. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if I had the anxiety in my chest and I went for a run or lift weights or even walking, that helped out a lot. Like, I remember, you know, just leaving the gym feeling great. Again, like you said, lifting like the weight off your
Yeah.
shoulder.
Yeah. I know I've been saying I've been going to be doing like for the past year. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to try meditation, and it's just never, never got to that point.
It's
Um,
helpful. I know people that do it. So if you you know,
yeah,
I got to get around to do it.
yeah, absolutely. Um, I'm curious. So you have a special like being released on all streaming platforms, and it's called "We Ain't Terrorists." Uh, I'm curious about that. By the time this airs, it's going to be already out.
Yeah.
You know what's all what are you trying to achieve with something like that? Is that like comedy kind of based on your experiences, you know, growing up as your life as kind of, you know, a person of color, that typical stereotype that people usually have?
Yeah, it was, you know, this was like a long time ago. I was like trying to get some work in Toronto, like as a comic. And then you know, I would hear like, you know, just not me or just on the news or wherever, or it's through friends being called, like, you know, someone would make a joke or to be like, yo, you're a terrorist. And I was like, I thought that was just so messed up. I remember being like, what? You know, even like I remember being in school and then someone in like one of my classmates was like, tell your dad, this is around when Saddam Hussein
Mhm.
uh, was like, tell your dad to stop blowing up our country or something like that. And I was like, my dad works at Ford's Motor Company. Like, it was just like these things where I was like, you know, what if I had a show where, you know, you can call it that, like, it's obvious, you know what I mean? But then you're doing jokes that, you know, like just jokes that not necessarily have to be about your ethnicity, just to show that, you know, we don't, like, we do other things, and we can talk about other things. Like, I grew up playing road hockey, you know what I mean? I didn't feel I had to talk about being Middle Eastern for like an hour straight. So I think that
Right.
was part of the idea I had in my head. But then it was also, you know, talking about things like being called a camel jockey, like, you know, making fun of that, And then so that when people come to the show, we're breaking down these stereotypes. So that's where that originally stemmed from. And then I've been doing it for like a while. And then I met Ali Hassan, and then I loved his comedy. I love the way he hosts. So we started to work together on that. And then we decided to put out an album. So we recorded it in December of this past year at the Comedy Bar in Toronto. And yeah, we wanted to we had toured that show together for a while, so we wanted to record it and put it out. So yeah, we're excited about it. The artwork too, we're pumped because Bill Bronson is a friend of mine. He's great at what he does. So just having that night we did it in Toronto was so fun. So having it recorded and being able to share it with people eventually is what we wanted to do.
Yeah, I'm curious. You mentioned growing up in road hockey. Are you a Red Wings fan?
No. I just was given a jersey for the Red Wings. At the time, I don't really follow hockey as much anymore. I believe I was a Los Angeles Kings fan because of Wayne Gretzky. I remember that. My dad is a big Maple Leafs fan, but yeah, no one in the household, I believe, is a Red Wings fan.
All right. I'm curious, and it's kind of a deep question, so feel free. We can skip it as we go along. But I had a gentleman when the George Floyd thing broke and everything. I had a gentleman by the name of Asante, and we were talking about racism and how that relates to his mental health, and how he became an advocate. I'm curious, some of those stories, saying, the kids saying, tell your dad to stop blowing up things and blah blah blah. Was there a noticeable big impact with kind of that racism and playing into your mental health and anxieties and as you were growing up and into an adult?
Yeah, man, you're like, you're getting called these names. I'm not necessarily speaking about myself, but just in general, it's just awful. You're like trying to connect and trying to hang out with people, and then other people are like, you're different because of your skin tone or your skin and your race or your ethnicity, and then it's like awful. It's like awful for anyone, especially a child, to go through that. Of course you're like, with not proper getting any help for it, you're gonna grow up and feel some type of way. Why wouldn't you? And nobody should go through that. Nobody should be at like a playground or anywhere just with racism being thrown at them, or it's just so hurtful. So I feel it does for sure play into your mental health as you grow up. I feel it too. Like I look back and there's like certain built up anger like from years of somebody saying some racist shit to me that it's built up, and you just don't know until you get older. And you're like spazzing, and you're like, oh man, it derived from there.
I'm curious. So, not necessarily the faith component of the show, Ramy, but if, a show like that, with people of color and not just that typical, Friends, Seinfeld type show on TV growing up in the 90s, and late 80s, what would a show like Ramy have done to like you as a kid, as a teen, with that representation on TV to show that it's not just terrorists and true lies in movies and all those like TV shows. Like what would that really help to like build like any self-esteem, confidence in yourself, like growing up?
Of course, you see something on screen that's like, you can inspire to be like, you're like, like Ramy wrote and developed this show, and he's like Middle Eastern, like, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, you're trying to get into comedy or writing or acting. That's so inspirational to see. And sometimes I feel too, like, not separate from that point is like, in Canada, there is a lot of racism that we don't talk about. It is like, we like we look at America and we're like, yo, we're not them. But like, there's a lot of racism in Canada, to like ethnicities, especially the natives. Like, it's so bad that we need to start talking. We can't look at them and be like, they're wrong. We're wrong as well. We got to start addressing stuff in our own backyard. And even like, you look at the uncle on Ramy, you know what I mean? The how, he comes, there's some race. I've had an uncle like that. They've said racist stuff where it's just like, why are you like, this is like not good behavior. We need to fix this. I remember being a kid and like hearing my uncle speak things like that, where I was like, I knew it wasn't right. Do you know what I mean? Like I wasn't like, I just knew it wasn't right. I was young and I just knew that this was not the right thing.
No, it's a good point, and yeah, Canada. We always like to say we're the nice people, and to an extent we are, but you know the racism here is
Yeah.
it's almost just as bad, just not quite as
Yeah,
overt.
dude. Yeah, it's just we need to talk about it more and it needs to come to the forefront about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I'm curious, what was winning a Juno like? That's pretty much the highest honor you can win as a Canadian in Canada. Like, was that something you even thought was a possibility?
No, because the comedy category wasn't even around until like I want to say when Ivan Decker when I it was around, but it was like a long hiatus. And Ivan Decker, I think that was be like what 3 years ago maybe or two
Mm,
years ago when he won it.
something
It
like
was in
that.
Vancouver. Yeah, he won it, and then yeah, I didn't think. Then I applied for it, and yeah, I wasn't even. Then when I got nominated, I was super thrilled, and I like look, you always want to win, like that. Just be, yeah, I would be fooling you. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. Like I was like, yeah, I want to win, hands down. Should I win? Yeah, like you have to come in with that mentality. If you don't have that mentality, like what are you doing
Hmm.
this for? So, but when I won, I was like, this is, yeah, I never thought I'd win a Juno.
Yeah, and then just like getting on Netflix, because that seems like kind of the next thing for comedians that Netflix has this. Well, I don't know for sure. I'm not behind it, but seemingly has this great network of comedy, and is constantly
Yeah.
putting out new specials. What did what did that do for your career once you got on that and that it was released?
Just as a goal for myself to like be able to do a half hour special on a platform like that was good for me. I tried not thinking about anything else after that. Like I thought about it, but I didn't want to let like either get my hopes up or down. Do you know what I'm saying? Because
Hmm.
I can have no control of that. They recorded it, they put it out, and then I did I did the job. I went and performed to my best ability. Whatever happens after that happens. It was such a thrill, man. My little brother was there. It was filmed in Montreal, which was amazing to be in Canada doing at Club Soda. The audience was lit. Like in a sense, the energy, they were great, and I had so what a it's such a memorable night for me, and
Hmm.
I was just great. I was just happy to be a part of it.
How hard is it to put together, you know, a 30-minute special, or a 30-minute set, or even an hour set? When you're going into it, I don't think a lot of us as an audience or consumers understand the work that goes into putting like that much time and performing for that amount of time. Like, is it a really difficult process?
For sure, man. You're like there's like hours of work into it. You gotta go up as much as you can on stage to refine it and get it sharp and get a proper order for it. Like it's just you're putting together whether it's a half hour, an hour is not an easy process. So I commend anyone, yeah, that does it.
Mhm. How many times do you hear, "Oh, you're a comedian"? Like, I could be a comedian. I'm pretty funny. I make people laugh.
Too many times, man. It's just, but you know what it is? It's like, you know why? Because it's like, I feel, this is just my theory. It's like everybody has somebody in their crew that thinks they're super funny. You know what I mean? Everybody, everyone, and even if the crew doesn't think that guy's funny or that girl's funny or whoever is, they think they're funny. So but not everyone in a crew has someone that plays like the like a clarinet. You know what I mean? Like or a
Mhm.
flute, like a wild like a so I feel that's why sometimes hecklers are like, well, I'm funny. I'll heckle the shit out of this person. Like, it's just not the same. You cracking jokes that is not the same as going up on stage, obviously. It's an art form. It's a complete, well, it's just not, it's just a complete different thing. Like, I don't want to get too like artsy about it. It's something people work on. They put together a joke. There's a structure to it. It's not as easy as you sitting in front of your. Then now put on lights and then you're in front of strangers that you don't even know, add that other element of anxiety, it's completely different. It shouldn't be taken like that loosely when you're like, I could be a comedian. Like, I think you should rethink that statement before it comes out.
Yeah,
It's
no,
very hard.
it's a good point that it is an art, just like as if you were a musician, singing, playing guitar in front of an audience.
Yeah,
It's the exact
it's
same thing.
it's hella disrespectful too. It's just like, why are you saying that? You should know better.
Yeah,
Like, just because you do a couple of jokes a week or something like that to your uncle or your grandmother or whoever, it's just very disrespectful. To watch someone do 45 minutes and control an audience like that, and then you get off and then you've had like 5 drinks and you can't even probably drive yourself home, and you're like, I could do what you do. It's just like, I don't know, man. I used to think it would be, I used to be like, oh, whatever. Now I'm like, I don't even want to hear that.
yeah, because you put in the work, you put in your
Yeah.
dues. You've been grinding this whole
It's like
time.
insane, dude. It's like if I shot a basketball twice and I just see some professional basketball player and I'm like, oh man, I play basketball too. And they're like,
Go,
okay,
Mike.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't think they understand too that even professional comedians, like they have rough nights, they can bomb, they can
yeah.
be put through the ringer a little bit. That it's not all just going up and getting all these laughs and stuff like that.
No, not at all.
Um, no, it's interesting. Do you have people that you look up to as comedians, like particular favorites that you really like to follow and that just you think really kind of help transcend the art form?
Of course, like Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, Sebastian Maniscalco, like even like Ramy, Yusuf, Mo Amer. These are guys that like I look to, and like certain things they do, I try to like, you know what I mean. Like, I'm inspired by it. Nathan McIntosh, he's Canadian. He's Halifax originally, but lives in New York. He's been on a bunch of late night, I think pretty much all the late nights. Just his writing and his subject matter inspires me.
Mm-hmm.
You got like Sarah Hennessy, you have Arthur Simeon, Alex Pavone. These are all working comedians that I, like Keith Pedro and Nick Reynoldson, Sandra Battolini. These are all like people really doing it, putting it down. And, that even though we might be friends and, I've been around them, I'm still inspired by, their work ethic and what they do on stage.
Yeah, I'm glad you like highlighted so many names that aren't necessarily those. They're headliners, but like when you think of people who just are kind of loosely associated with comedy, like those names
Yeah.
don't come up. And I think it's important because comedy over I would say the last 2, 3, 4 years has come on under a lot of fire. You had the Louis C.K. scandal and kind of a lot of fallout with that. You just had Chris D'Elia and
Yeah.
everything like that. That there's a part of people that think comedy is kind of like a little bit of a sleazy party business, but there's actually like tons of people who are putting it down just because they're not hyped on a big podcast or anything like that, or getting Netflix specials every year.
Yeah, you gotta there's a lot of people. It's just you gotta do your research. Like Jared Campbell. I'm trying to get as many names that I love through comedy. Ali Hassan, obviously. Um, K. Trevor Wilson, who's on Letterkenny. Just a lot of people really doing their thing, man. Andrew Schultz, Akash Singh. Like, these are you just gotta. It's like in music. You know what I mean? Like, I try to find artists all the time, just for my own satisfaction of like, what's new, what's popping, what's inspiring. So I think we doing a lot of that. I find that I like doing that with music and comedy.
Yeah, well, one of the most interesting things I kind of stumbled across as I was kind of like prepping and getting some background, that there's still comedy albums kind of being put out. I didn't realize that was
Oh
a
yeah.
thing. I thought everything was kind of special based.
No, there's a lot of like, Comedy Records and Howl and Roar are like Canadian ones, right? That, if you're a Canadian, especially, I would get into because they're putting out content on a regular basis. And it's funny is like, you know, Canadian artists or just Canadians are always like, they need to start researching and start promoting Canadian artists instead of waiting for them to go to America, pop off and go, I support you. I'm like, no, man, support them
Mm,
from the jump. You know what I mean? There's that problem I have, and that's why I try to like, find Canadian artists as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and support, like whether it's in music, like 88 Glam, Sean, sorry, yeah, 88 Glam is Toronto based. They're on EXO label, or I think they were, but the Weekend, Division, like artists like that, Magic Jordan, like just like, you know what I mean, like, uh, I guess researching, man.
yeah.
Supporting. I just like that because like I would like someone to support me. So we I grew up on a border town, so I was watching a lot of American TV, and even I back then remembering, I'm like, oh, that's Canadian. Like, where's that? Why am I saying that? Like that comes from somewhere. So as I got older and got into the entertainment, I didn't want to do that because I remember saying that. I was like, oh, they're Canadian, and I just didn't like that how it
Yeah.
sounded coming even from me.
Yeah, it's I work in radio, so I definitely get that that Canadian content type representation and
Yeah,
trying
dude,
to
it's like
find
we're
those next people.
we're doing it like even TV is gone. It's just great, like Schitt's Creek,
Yeah. Well, Mr. D,
Baroness Vaughn sketch, Mr. D, Letterkenny, Kim's Convenience. There's like a lot of product being put out that we should be proud of as a country.
is there so like for musicians in Canada, like they have I think it's called SOCAN, and kind of like a federally mandated institution that helps prop them up and gives them money and puts them on radio and stuff like that. Does comedy have the same thing? Like, is there that
Well,
support? Because
now cast, right? Sandra Battellini, Monty Scott, Adam Groh, like that. There is a thing. If you look it up, I think it started maybe a few years ago. It's like almost like I don't want to say a union, but it just looks out for the
right,
comedians that in the community, and it tries to help them in all aspects, I guess. Like to help them get the right business. Yeah, it kind of looks out for them being treated well, which sometimes, as you know, like entertainers may not get treated well. So that cast is like looks out, and it's great. Sandra Battellini is doing an immense amount of work.
right, right.
Their whole committee, if you look it up, it's all they're doing great.
I'm curious. Yeah, I was because as we're always talking about Canadian culture and promoting Canadian and I mean even that whole support local movement that you know is everybody kind of getting that backing, whether no matter what your art form is, I guess you could say, whether it's painted art, sculpting to comedy to music,
Yeah.
that you have that. What's next? Because I know right now it's kind of very uncertain, and especially in America where COVID cases are on the rise. What are the next couple months looking like for you for work?
Uh the pot just getting this album out. We've been working on it since December, so getting it out, pushing it, and hoping people enjoy it and seeing what the feedback about it is, and then the podcast, the Beautifully Anxious,
Hmm.
and then
So
writing, and like writing, like I show ideas and what I can do, just keeping
yeah,
myself busy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Have you tried any of that the Zoom comedy? I know that's kind of
No, no, no. Not yet, man. I'm not in yet. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not knocking it either. If
yeah,
that's what you're doing and you're doing well on it, then by any means, man, keep doing it. I personally haven't been inspired to do it yet.
Do you miss performing, miss touring, miss
Of
being out
course,
there?
of course, man, of course. But safety first, right?
Yeah.
This is like more. This is just beyond stand up comedy and me missing comedy. It's about health and being safe.
Well, man, I appreciate you joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Sorry
Yeah.
about the sweating, bro.
I'm sweating here too. It's Ottawa right now is like, yeah, I guess it's like 35 degrees right now. So I'm
Yeah,
feeling it
it's
too.
hot over here too.
Lots of different stuff coming out. So best of luck to you. Where can people follow
Thank you,
you?
man.
Where can they follow you to make sure they're up to date with everything coming out?
Oh, usually Instagram. So it's like Dave Merheje, DAVEMERHEJE. That's the handle on Facebook and Twitter as well. So I post a lot of stuff on there. Post anything that's coming out will be on there.
Right, and there's a great New York Post article you can Google too that came out
Oh yeah, that's super dope. Super dope.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, really appreciate it. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Look forward to listening to the new album for sure.
Oh man, thank you, bro. Again.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.